Okay. I think we can go.
Okay. Welcome to the regular Board of Trustee meeting for Tuesday, April 28th, 2020. Is there a motion to open the meeting? Trustee Casal, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? Meeting is open. Can we please do the Pledge of Allegiance? All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America,
and to the republic
for which
stands
one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to take a moment of silence for all the people who have lost their lives due to this terrible pandemic that's happened. So can we take a moment of silence, please? Okay, thank you. We've already put this out on the agenda, but I just want everyone to know that we have, during the pandemic crisis, our boards will continue to be conducted remotely. You are able to participate via Zoom, by internet, or by telephone, or you could watch the meeting live stream on YouTube. The videos can also be viewed after each meeting on YouTube and will be posted to our website. Courtesy of the floor is suspended in the course of this containment period, but if you have a comment, question, or concern which you would like to make, please email our village clerk by 3 p.m. the day of the meeting. Be sure to include the meeting and agenda item you would like to address and send those comments to ldraper@dobbsferry.com. For public hearings, we will accept emailed comments in advance of the hearings. Please email ldraper@dobbsferry.com by 3 p.m. of the day of the hearing. For Zoom participants, we will also enable the option for participants to raise their hand and voice their concern. Since we're having a public hearing tonight, I just want to go over how this works in more detail. So if you are participating via Zoom, either by phone or by video, you can raise your hand, and we will call on residents in the order in which they do so, just as if you were lining up at the microphone during an in-person public hearing. In order to raise your hand, for those participating by video, you should click on the icon labeled Participants, and a column appears on the right-hand side. At the bottom of that window is the Raise Your Hand button. For participants calling in by phone, you can push *9 in order to raise your hand. We will let you know it is your turn by calling your name or your phone number, depending on how you are participating. And please be sure, just want to say, please be sure to identify yourself and your address when you are called upon. Go ahead, Alyssa.
We have Tom Abenanti on the phone.
Ah,
I'm going to promote him to panelist.
okay.
Okay. He should be joining us. There he is. Unmute. There you go.
This is Mayor Vinnie Rosillo. Tom, are you there?
Yes, I am, Vinny. I can see you. It's nice to see you.
I can see you. Wow, this stuff really works.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I'm getting used to this. I know. I used to do some of the original one. I won't mention the name of that product, but it didn't work as well as this one does. So I'm getting used to this.
Yeah, I think we all are trying, but certainly it's a whole new world. So you have the floor, so tell us what is happening.
Well, I just came by to say hello. I wanted to keep touch with everybody. We, as the assembly members, are continuing to work remotely. My staff here in Westchester, Joanne Sold and Elisa Jacobs, who are both from our area. You may know them. Joanne used to be the president of the school board in Ardsley. Elisa lives over in Northern Greenburgh. They are answering the phones and answering the emails around the clock, basically. My two staff members in Albany are also working remotely. We're trying to keep up on what's going on and answering people's concerns. The governor has stepped up. He is providing leadership that's woefully needed today in this country. And for me, that's a compliment. You know, I'm critical of him when I don't like what he does, but I also give him compliments when I do like what he does. And I think he's providing the necessary leadership. The last thing we did as an assembly was we passed a budget, which had a lot of substance in it as well as numbers. It was a $178 billion budget. We fought very hard to try to keep things in the budget that we thought our communities would need. And we, by and large, were successful, but we don't know how long that money is going to last. Because if we don't get reimbursement from the feds, a lot of that money is going to go to pay for the COVID-19 expenses. We did, in addition to the $178 billion, put expenditure approvals in for the state to something like $80 billion. We put in an expenditure approval of $43 billion for unemployment insurance. And we're hoping that most of that money is going to come from the federal government. And we put in an extra $4 billion just for public health emergencies. I'm told that we're spending some $700 million a week on expenses, extraordinary expenses for this pandemic. We put in another $25 billion for unforeseen contingencies. Now, you all sit around and you count pennies when you do a budget, and here we are just writing a blank check because, as you can see, this has been a very, very difficult time. So that's the way we did it. We even authorized $11 billion of short-term notes and revenue anticipation notes, so that the state could kind of float past into the time when we collect taxes again. So that's what we did on a budgetary basis. From a substantive point of view, we did some of the big things. We renewed the sales taxes. We renewed the hotel taxes that needed to be renewed. And we did a few other issues that I don't think we want to talk about tonight. You've got a board meeting, but some other time we'll talk about it. The governor every day talks about, and I know you send out newsletters periodically also, which are very good. He's talking about how it's getting better. We want to warn people, though, that we're not there yet. People are starting to get anxious and saying, when are we going to reopen? When are the restaurants going to reopen and whatever? We're not there yet. Somebody on the internet had a great analogy, which I now have on my Facebook page. And that is, just because the parachute has slowed down your descent doesn't mean you can take it off. We haven't gotten to the bottom yet. We're still coming down. So that's just, to everybody out there, have a little bit more patience. Say thank you to all the first responders and to all of the people who are putting themselves on the line. And you have a lot of them in the village of Dobbs Ferry. So the numbers are coming down, but we're still not there yet. The biggest issues that we've been having so far are unemployment issues. We used to have, I don't know, a million people a year, or no, that was 50,000 people a year that would claim unemployment insurance, and now we've got millions. And so the system has been stressed. Every day I meet with my staff by conference call, and every evening I join a conference call with the governor's office. And what I hear from my staff during the day, there's always an issue with somebody trying to get unemployment insurance, waiting 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever. And every day when we have the conference call with the governor's staff, that issue is brought up by somebody. We have all of the Westchester senators, all of the Westchester Assembly members on the phone. And, we try to give them feedback as to what's happening. And they're telling us back what they're going to do about it. Today we talked about, for example, there's a crisis in our nursing homes. It's just the center of the pandemic seems to be in the nursing homes. We've had so many deaths in the nursing homes. You have a lot of fragile people, and we just haven't had enough testing. And so the governor's trying to expand testing. For those who haven't heard it, he's got a plan now to even use pharmacies as places for people to get tested. Looking down the road, because if we're going to get back to an open society, we've got to give everybody the opportunity to get tested in a convenient location. Some of the other issues that we've dealt with, deal with the testing. Little by little, we've been opening sites. They've been dealing with trying to get personal protection equipment for the first responders. I know we haven't had any conversations, but I know some of our other villages. I don't know. Are you part of a consortium that buys the PPEs together? So I know some people have gotten together on
Yeah,
that.
we've
issue.
been
We
we've been
try,
meeting
Tom.
regularly. Yeah, we've been meeting regularly with Ardsley, Hastings, Tarrytown, Sleepy
Right.
Hollow, Irvington. So we've been trying to, buy bulk that way.
Well, if you have any problems on anything, call my office and we'll add our voice to try to help you out, either with the county. I know the county's worked very well. They've tried very hard, and I think they've done a fairly good job. And so, but like I said, we have this conference call every day. So if you have something that's going on that I should know about, please let us know. Because if I hear it from you and I hear it from some other places, then we can identify, there's a trend, there's a problem here.
Thanks, Tom.
So I know now we're finally starting to get people to wear masks. I know I've been pushing for several weeks that there should be masks and gloves available for all of the people who are out in the supermarkets, the people who are working in supermarkets, the people who are out on the street and whatever. The concern was we didn't have enough. And anything that they can get their hands on, they were trying to give to the ambulance corps, to the first responders, to the hospitals and whatever. But now we've gotten people, people are now sewing their own, making their own, little cottage industry here. So that's great.
Tom, we got a delivery of like 3,500 washable masks.
Oh, great.
So we're also putting it in priority because we're not going to use that many. And we're putting it in priority as to, to give it to the children's village, the nursing home, etc. So, that's really important.
Well, that's helpful because those are the places where there's a real danger.
Yeah.
I know we talked about, and one of the things that I was pushing was you've got to start to look at group homes because people can't leave. People with disabilities and like you said, like Children's Village and places like that, that's their home. And their home is with a lot of people.
Right.
And so you've got to do a different strategy. You can't just self-isolate because when you isolate, you're isolating yourself with, 100 of your closest friends. So it's kind of like, so anyway, so I just wanted to say hello. I know that we've tried in the past to get some capital money for you. We're going to be doing the same thing again. I know we've had some conversations about some, what was the
Traffic mitigation.
Yes, traffic mitigation. That's what it was, right? And I don't know where we are on the planning stage on that, but we're trying to get you some monies for that. And also, if you have some other projects that you need, please give us a list. We've got to be, the way this works is when the money becomes available, we have to put the list in, as you know. Now, we don't know what's going to happen given this crisis. I don't know that there's going to be monies available tomorrow, even if we put in a request tomorrow. But somewhere along the way, things will come back. And if you have something that needs to be done related to the crisis, tell us right away, because maybe we can move that through faster if there is if there's a real problem, especially in the capital area. That it seems to be easier to get capital monies right now. It's very difficult to get operating monies. But capital monies are, anyway.
We appreciate that. We just hope that the state doesn't run out of money for us.
Well, yeah, I understand. I'm particularly concerned about CHIPS money,
Right.
and some of the other monies that you get. Right at the moment, as I understand it, we're running in the red because all of the money hasn't flowed from the federal government yet. So the state is laying out monies. One of the unemployment insurance programs is a federal supplement to the state plan. And I think it's like $600 or something like that. And so, the state is laying that money out, anticipating that the federal government is going to be giving us that money back. And so it's kind of like a revolving fund, but still the state has to lay it out first.
Right. Like we're laying out money, hoping that we're going to get it back
Exactly.
from FEMA and other places. So
Exactly.
right. We understand, and we're concerned as well about being reimbursed properly and what the rules are and timeliness and all of that nature. But, and like you said, the nursing home is a concern. It's, we have Cabrini here, and it is concerning as to what happens at a nursing home, and a lot of it is beyond our control. So it's kind of frustrating for us as just to be spectators. So.
Thank you for letting me join you. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to take them.
Anybody have anything for the Assemblyman?
Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
We
Good,
appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we're on to have the public hearing regarding the budget. So this is a continuation of the public hearing from last meeting. So can I have a motion to reopen the public hearing? Trustee Nell, second. Trustee Patino, all in favor? Okay, so the public hearing is now open. And I know we discussed it in great detail the last meeting, but very briefly, Jeff, can you give us a recap?
Sure. So we presented a budget that has total appropriations of $19,695,000 in the operating fund, a $411,575 property tax levy, and a 2021 tax rate of $6.92 per thousand, which is basically flat from last year.
And as you know, what we have done is like we've suspended all spending really, except on COVID related measures, and just paying what bills that, the current bills that are come in by contractual requirements. But other than the COVID, which we've asked you for, funds in different areas, we're not spending any money.
And in light of this situation, although we don't know where the bottom will be on this, Charlene, you and Jeff feel comfortable that this budget will be sufficient enough to get us through the next fiscal year?
As much as anybody can be. We believe it's a budget that we can stick to. We also know that we have to be very careful with our money until this opens up again.
Are there any comments from the rest of the board about this budget at all?
I'll just say very quickly, it's a great result. And I know both of you and the staff worked very hard to put this together. So thank you.
Thank you.
And am I correct in saying we didn't receive anything from the public, Liz or Alyssa, about this? Okay.
I didn't either, but yeah. All comments are directed to Liz, so.
Okay, so having heard no further comments, is there a motion to close the public hearing? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, all in favor? It passes unanimously. Let's vote on the budget then. So can I have a motion to consider passing the budget as was outlined and submitted by the village treasurer for 2021? Is there a motion? Trustee Taylor, second. Trustee Sullivan, all in favor? Okay, the motion passes and unanimously, and the budget is ratified. So thank you, everybody.
See the smile on Jeff's face?
Let's hope he still has a smile in 6 months.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, item number 1 is to consider a resolution temporarily suspending certain regulations for parking of passenger vehicles. Charlene, can you please clarify this?
Yes, the reason that we are doing that, as you know, with the COVID, we just sort of lifted all parking regulations, and I think we were right in doing so. I mean, Mara said that other communities have had trouble because they haven't done it, and I think it was the right thing to do. And obviously, we haven't had any complaints about it. However, there has been a public health, safety, and welfare issue at the waterfront park. Many surrounding communities have, and I don't mean in Westchester, outside Westchester, have closed their parks for various reasons. Everybody has their own reason, which has then had many other, the people from the adjoining communities have come to the waterfront, and that's great. We want the waterfront used. However, we have social distancing, and the social distancing, the masks, the requests for not sitting on the benches have not been met. So we have to limit the number of people into the park. There's just no question about it. What we have done is now put back those requirements that we've always had. That is permitted parking, commuter parking, resident parking, recreation parking for residents. And we now are going to enforce that. So basically that's what this resolution is about. It's reinstating, we're not making it more strict or more restrictive. We are just enforcing what we have. In fact, we will look with permits, rec permits that are expired, we will allow that. We have also, I'm sorry, Vinny?
No, go ahead.
I believe there has been a request by the board and board members to sort of roll in a little less restrictive measures, and that we can talk about at another time, but it can't be done. Like, we were expecting a really good weekend, and my fear is that it will be worse than Saturday of last weekend. And in talking to the chief, there were numerous issues that is just dangerous for all residents, where, you know, where if they're not residents of the village, or even the outside resident people. So therefore, we are instituting those restrictive measures that we've always had prior to this. The other parking regulations are still suspended.
Right, so that's what I just want to get into. So we have done this previously by declaring a state of emergency, and I think part of that was to suspend some of the parking. So now we're doing this more formally as with a resolution. And just to be clear, we are suspending the parking restrictions for the central business district, alternate side of the street parking requirements, on-street parking at blue meter spaces, the hours of operation for on-street parking meters, and the requirements at the municipal lots at Elm Street, Oak Street, Cedar Street, Oak Street, Lower Main Street parking lot below the Village Library, and 99 Street parking lot. And the hours of operation for off-street parking meters at the meterless parking system. So those will be suspended. And as you were alluding to, Charlene, we are also going to go back and require that people have proper permits to park at Waterfront Park. And let me just say, this is a temporary situation where we're doing this for the welfare and the safety of the residents. We have done everything that we can to keep that park open. We've been forced to limit access to benches, to grills, to tables. We want people to walk in one direction, but people were just not following the proper social distancing and using the proper masks. So people can still walk down to the park. We're not stopping anyone from walking and using the park. It's just that we are temporarily requiring people, we are requiring people to use the permit system. And I know that in the past, we had a certain number of parking spots that were open on weekends to other people without requiring some permits. That is just, we're just temporarily suspending that benefit. So I just want to make that clear. And this is all a temporary basis due to the pandemic situation that's happening. Anybody else have anything to say to that?
Just, can I just clarify then? So to be clear, then if you want to park at Waterfront Park in the train parking lot, you have to either have a resident permit sticker or a commuter permit sticker. And if they're expired, it's okay. And that's 7 days a week.
Yes, I'm sorry.
If it's
It's gonna be
expired and it's
the-
okay, then I think we need to change the language in the resolution because it says current and in terms of the permits.
I think you can do that by motion.
Okay.
Is there gonna be additional temporary signage posted for people that they are visiting the park?
I believe we posted a lot of new signage, and we'll see if we
parking.
need with the parking.
Mhm.
I think we'll have the police there, and yes, we should have parking signage.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
there is current parking signage that pertain, because these are just the rules that have always been in place.
Right.
essentially. And so those parking signs are still, they haven't been covered up or anything.
No,
So
and
that will still be, those signs are still up.
yeah, and we should put a few more signs because, you know, it's sort of changed now.
Well, but that's exactly my point, considering what we are proposing right now, that require additional signage because we do have the free signs. So if those are not gonna be in effect, they need to be covered or they need to be new signs put up.
Mara, what we're going to do, we're not going to cover the signs. What we're going to do is just put parking is being enforced, and we'll put it at the beginning, you know, the entrance. And the reason is we're going to have police presence there.
Okay.
And we can look at this again in 2 weeks to see if we still
Sure.
have this going on, if we could lift that restriction or open it up, open it up to other people like we used to. So I
Sure.
think I think the weather will be especially nice over the next few weekends. So we just want to make sure that we can just ride this out without causing any further going backwards at all.
One thing I think it's important to make clear to the public is, given the magnitude of the public health difficulties and risks, one of the alternatives that if this doesn't work would have to be to close the parks.
Thank
Which,
you, Larry.
if we can get people to distance socially, lower the density, we'll be able to keep the parks open for people to enjoy safely. But if we can't, then we really, as a board, would have to consider closing the parks.
That's an excellent point that we've been struggling with every day, whether, how much more can we take while not closing the park down? So that's a good point.
Very good point.
Okay, so do I have to amend the motion because it does say.
Mayor, if you would take a motion on the resolution as revised with the removal of the words and current. And in the section, the first and be it further resolved section, the two words and current can be eliminated, and then you can ask for the motion on that resolution as revised.
Okay, so as revised, as laid out by Laura Lee, we'll have a motion to pass this resolution. Trustee Nell, second. Deputy Mayor Cassell, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, passes unanimously. And like I said, we will review it again in 2 weeks to see if we should still maintain it or if we should do anything different. Action item number 2 is to consider a motion to certify and approve the 2019 2020 Dobbsbury Volunteer Ambulance Corps Service Awards points listing as submitted by the Dobbsbury Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Charlene, can you talk about this?
I know, I think that's Jeff's.
Jeff?
Did you
talk
put
about
that on the agenda?
Yeah, that's a thing that we do annually. It's an awards program based on the service that the volunteers provide. Basically, they have to finish a certain amount of training meetings per year in order to qualify for the benefits, further on down the road.
So these service award points add up to a certain number of benefits that they could use when they retire, that type of thing?
That's correct.
Okay. So I recall we do this every year, right?
Every year.
Okay. So is there a motion? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Taylor, any discussion? All in favor? That passes unanimously. Agenda item number 4, right?
Yes.
Don't we have firefighters and ambulance corps separately as,
No, we're on 3.
We're on 3. That's what I thought. Then I got confused.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah.
Okay, so action item number 3 is consider motion to certify and approve the 2019-2020 Dobbsbury Volunteer Firefighter Service Awards points listing as submitted by the Dobbsbury Volunteer Fire Department. So it's the same thing as the firefighters or the ambulance corps is what Jeff laid out. So is there anything different to that, Jeff?
Nope, same idea.
Okay. So is there a motion? Trustee DeRozzi. Second, Trustee Patino. Any discussion? All in favor? Passes unanimously. I kind of like this view. I get to see everybody face on as opposed to sideways. Action item number 4 is to consider a motion to approve audits number 3 and number 4 for April 2020 as recommended by the village treasurer. Jeff, you wanna I know we do this every meeting, but you want to shed some light on it?
Yeah, it's just a normal process to approve the bills before they're paid. Unless there's questions, I don't have any additional comments.
This just includes more extra COVID type spending that we don't normally have to do, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, do I have a motion? Trustee Nell. Second, Trustee Taylor. All in favor? And that passes unanimously. Action item number 5 is to consider a resolution to set a public hearing for 6:30 PM on May 12th, 2020 for the purposes of establishing the sewer rate at, I'm not even going to try to say that number, of water consumption and consider rules and procedures for the operation of the sewer rent program as set forth in chapter 256. So Charlene, you want to shed some light on that?
Sure. Not as to the number, I'm gonna leave that to Jeff. But as to why we're doing this, you remember that a number of months ago, we passed the sewer fund rent local law. So we established the local law for a sewer fund. We then had to look at various aspects of it, and we decided on a rate for the individuals who are charged, because we got the Suez information. Now, at that point, when we first did it, it was a little higher than this one is now. And it was, I think, 1.37 that we initially estimated. Now it's a tad bit lower. What that means for the average homeowner of a 2,000 square foot home is approximately $144 a year, $12 a month. Why this is advantageous for the village is that the sewers used by all will now be maintained by all. And what I mean by that is the not-for-profits and all those other people that we did not take into consideration on a taxing base. So, and it will be done, I believe, in a very fair manner because it is done by usage. So if you use a lot of water when you flush, then your charge is going to be high. And you have, as an individual, have some control over it. You probably don't have control over the kids, but you have control over yourself. So you can lessen it or heighten it, but it will be fairly distributed amongst the whole of the village by usage.
Okay, and Jeff, is there anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I just, that $1.36 per cubic foot number is based off of some historical data that we received and based off of what we're projecting for needing in the fund in the next fiscal year.
Okay, so we're just what we're doing tonight is setting a public hearing to discuss this in further detail, correct? Yes, Laura Lee.
Yes, the wrong resolution is attached to your agenda. I can send you out the correct resolution. This is a prior draft of the resolution. When you were considering revising your local law, you're not considering a revision to your local law. Your local law stands as is. This resolution is incorrect. I can send out the correct one right now to all of you and to the clerks. I'm not sure how this wrong one was uploaded, but in your packets is the wrong resolution. So I'm happy to do that right now.
Okay, that'll be great. Okay, so pending the receipt of the, well, do I have to technically wait to get it or?
Yes, I would. Because this one doesn't have the rate in it, and also it references that you'll be having a public hearing on a local law that you're not. What you're doing is you're promulgating local procedures, providing an opportunity for people to challenge the rate or to challenge their cost of rent based upon consumption, a waiver on consumption. So this one is actually wrong. So if you want to move on in your agenda, I'll send this to you right now.
Okay, we'll move on. We'll come back to it. I'll talk slowly or you'll type quickly. I don't know. Okay, so moving on, we have next on the agenda is the issue concerning Rivertown Square and changes regarding signage and pedestrian flow on the village right of way. So I think Ed would be in the best position to talk about this. So can you shed some light on it?
Sure. So Rivertown Square's new owners, Regency, have applied for some changes. Some of the simple changes are awnings and painting to the facades. But some of the more complicated issues are freestanding signage and banners and murals on the side of buildings. So all these things that would affect the approved site plan come to you. And then you have to decide what you would feel is appropriate and what is not, and then send what you think is appropriate down to the AHRB for their review and back to you with a referral letter for approval.
So we actually have to review what's been presented to us today and then decide if it's appropriate or not?
Today, the packet, if you see the site plan, shows all of the items that they've suggested that I told them would be under the purview of the Board of Trustees. So there was more items than this that are going to the Architectural Review Board. But the items on this site plan are for your review. So there's a new sign at the entrance to Lawrence Street on both sides. There's another directional sign next to Starbucks that they're presenting, and the one on the left in front of that retaining wall for the Chipotle parking. There's a series of banners on either side of that retaining wall. There are freestanding signage, directional signage, and information signage on Stanley, replacing the one on the parking deck above the market. There's ones on Hamilton on both sides of the strip mall area. And there's murals on the side of the Verizon's shop or AT&T, I believe, and the Buddha. So there's a lot of stuff here to consider. You know, a mural isn't just a wall sign or a store sign that we cover in our code. So this is like painting the whole side of a building with something that's decorative and wouldn't fall under, you know, signage regulations, so would have to come to you under site plan. So all of these things, there's also, I think, another mural on the elevator housing in the parking lot on Hamilton by Lombardo's. So there's 3 of those. There's a lot of freestanding signs. And also they're looking at the crosswalks by the traffic circle, which people have been habitually ignoring the pedestrian flow of traffic there and just walking across from one area across the circle and endangering themselves. So what Regency is proposing is to put some sort of graphic in the crosswalks to make it stand out more and maybe grab people's eyes to send them in the right safe flow across that way. So what they've given you, though, is to back up the site plan, is just a placeholder for some of the murals. These paintings are not actually what they're presenting. They just used random graphics for placeholders. So they would come back later with their actual design, their artwork, and they showed you just one of the freestanding pylon signs, which there are many, so they need to get a lot more of them to you. And they showed you a graphic for the crosswalk. So, you know, there's things, they've given you a few items, not a lot to discuss, but they have to get a larger packet with, that's very more descriptive to you for the next meeting.
Yeah, and is it possible maybe to have them maybe even come up here and explain exactly what they're planning on
Yes,
doing?
we could, Jennifer or Lisa could send them an invitation and they could step up to the mic, so to say, and share their screen with their plans and explain it to us.
Yeah, because I think I would like to have more information about that. I don't know about everybody else. Any other comment?
Yeah, I'd like to, I mean, because we haven't seen this flags, we don't know what mural they're talking about, what it's going to look like. I do have a question about the crosswalk. I mean, would they need to check with DOT to see if that is legal, that kind of a crosswalk? Because just because it says walk here, to me, it doesn't say this is a crosswalk. So can we have graphics in a crosswalk, or would that be against DOT regulations?
I don't believe it is. I think it's on our street, but we will look into that.
This information, along with some of the other aesthetic elements of the plan, was presented last night at the AHRB. So I'm confident that they would want to do a presentation to us to make sure that we understand. And I think it's important for us to understand their intent. It's positive that Regency wants to invest and encourage this facility to be, a successful, viable facility. But it does raise a lot of things for us to think about as well.
Is there a way, I have two things to talk about. The first thing, is there a way for them to split out the signage from the mural stuff in the approval process for this so that they can potentially move forward with signage while murals are taking place? That's my first question, and then I'll keep talking. That's for Ed.
Yeah, we could definitely split out the signage and the murals because, like I said, I don't think they've come up with the artwork that they want to put on those walls yet.
Right, that's the
So
second part of what I wanted to talk
can
about. 'Cause
come back for that later.
they'd reached out to me, I don't know, months ago with this idea of murals in Rivertown Square because of work that I do with the downtown businesses and potentially, with graphic design background, might knowing artists who could do the murals for them. Maybe it's a local person. So I'd been connecting with them on that. One of the things that I had recommended to them about the murals was we were trying to find a way to connect Rivertown Square to the downtown area through artwork and what the content is of the murals, that like the concepts that they're showing on the murals. And I'm still hoping we can figure out a way to do that. They were willing to fund a mural downtown in addition to the ones that they were doing here to try and, connect and unify Dobbs Ferry businesses in general. But that's still work in progress. So all I know is that they are trying to move forward with a conceptual mural project that helps highlight what Dobbs has a lot of business-wise. Like there's a lot of wellness and there's a lot of restaurants. There's a lot of sustainability happening in Dobbs. So they were trying to come up with a concept for the murals. So all of this is to say that they've been working on coming up with something that ideally we would benefit Dobbs in what the murals are doing. And I think that process is probably better to separate from the signage that they're looking to do and the flags, because it's basically presenting artwork to us that's breaking code that we would have to address and shouldn't hold up the other stuff if we have feedback to the other stuff.
Okay, I don't have any problems with breaking it up if we had to. I mean, it's not a problem, but it is situations that it is part of the site plan. We have to take a look at it.
I think that several years ago, during the approval of this project, a considerable amount of time was spent between the planning board and the AHRB to coordinate a holistic viewpoint of signage for this whole complex. And it went from, on the one hand, identifying the the whole development from the highway perspective, and then down to a much smaller one, identifying business, what they do. And that was a long and arduous process, and it was unfortunately not what I think the boards were looking to do. And it sounds like a better strategy is before us. I'll withhold some judgment until we see more information, but I agree that separating the two out and letting the AHRB or the planning board look at the pylon signs and some of the other signs that those boards really just look at directly and sort of solve those problems. And while we look at this larger sort of hole in the code, so to speak, I don't know if any codes really cover murals, but just that independent issue, which I think is a good positive one, but should be separated out.
Well, I think the HRB would intend to probably make a recommendation on all of this to us. So that's one thing. Our board does need to opine, I think, specifically on not just the site plan itself, but also, Ed, you had said, and they talked last night about the fact that a number of these signs would have to be put on public right of ways. So we would have to give permission for them to do that.
Yes.
And the other thing that's going on that everybody should be aware of on the board and also within the village, if they're interested, there's some, in addition to these materials, there's some preliminary materials on the AHRB section of the Dobbs Ferry website. And there are more color graphics that are coming, which Dan had requested, that will be posted in the near term for people who want to be able to get a sense themselves of this comprehensively, what they would like to do with the project.
Okay, so I don't even, procedurally, I don't have to take any action whatsoever. I just, do I put it over or do I just leave it as is?
I think we should continue it.
Okay,
And hopefully they can come to our next meeting to present, because I think that would help everybody understand their thinking too.
okay.
I agree.
And if I
Yeah,
could
it'd
just
be great.
clarify where they are on the website, they're on the projects page of the building department under the AHRB. So if you go to the building department page under projects on the AHRB meeting for 4/27, that's where the plans are.
They actually, the new plans might be posted for the next meeting because they were requested by the AHRB before the next meeting. So they could be on either the 27th or I think May 11th is the next meeting.
So do I need a motion to continue this?
You muted.
We didn't open anything, did we?
No.
You didn't, but
Discussing.
make a motion that you'll put this over. That would be sufficient for Liz's purposes with the minutes.
Okay, so could I have a motion to put the Rivertown Square changes and signage over to the next meeting? Trustee Taylor, second trustee Nell, all in favor? Okay, so put that over to the next meeting. And I did receive, Laura Lee, I'm assuming everybody else received the proper resolution, so now we can address that. So I think we've addressed it, we just haven't had the proper.
Yeah, I just want to make sure it's appropriate so you can put it, again, it's to help Liz to put it in her minutes. So everything's clear.
Okay, so is there a motion to schedule a public hearing for 6:30 PM on May 12th, 2020 for the purposes of establishing the sewer rate? Trustee Taylor, second trustee DeRozzi. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, so we'll schedule a public hearing for that day. I
Thanks,
think
Lizzie.
we already have a public hearing for that day, if I remember correctly. Don't we?
You have a few. You
Yeah.
have three already.
We need this particular one because we have to pass it before June so that Jeff can start the process.
Okay, I mean, we can talk about the other public hearings. Some of them will be easier than others to take care of, so we'll see.
Yes, you have your local law for your sidewalk cafes on. You have 100 Main Street on for the initial opening. And you also have a continuation of the site plan at 115 Broadway at Cabrini that you're waiting for your consultants' reports to come in. So you do have three items on and you've added this as a presentation, this past item as a presentation as well.
Okay. Okay, I think that's basically it. We have the minutes. So does anyone have any comments or questions about the minutes? Having heard none, is there a motion to adopt the minutes for April 14th, 2020? Trustee DeRozzi, second trustee Nell, all in favor? Okay, the minutes are adopted. I'll go around and just ask, do you have any reports, trustee Nell, or announcements?
No.
No. Trustee
roll call.
Patino? I think you have to answer so that Liz can write it down.
All right, no.
Trustee Taylor?
None.
Trustee Sullivan?
I just want to say that, again, like I do every meeting, that I'm really grateful to the Recreation Department and Abby Canet and all those volunteers with the Seniors Angels program. There was a lot of promotion on 105.2 and it comes up in your newsletter, but they're really doing yeoman's job, and our community is lucky to have such dedicated volunteers. And while we don't know what will happen this summer as far as being allowed out of our homes and in places like pools, it is good to know if you drive by Pool Park that the slide is almost done being completed, and they've been grading the dirt and everything, so we can try to stay positive, and maybe we'll be able to enjoy our new beautiful pool this summer.
It's a good question about the pool. Deputy Mayor Cassell, do you have anything?
Nope, nothing.
Trustee DeRozzi?
I just want to thank everyone that has continued to participate on the census. I know that our numbers have gone up, and I continue to post things of updates on social media on 105.2, but we're only at 63 point something, I believe 63.5, and we can do better. So I think that we have to continue promoting it and the participation so that we can, I want to make it into a race now. So we're trying to work into that. And I want to send a big thank you to the first responders, the fire department, the police department for all the beautiful birthday parades that they're doing in the village for our little ones. It means so much to them. I can imagine what it is for them to celebrate their birthday without celebrating their birthdays now. So thank you so much for everything that you guys are doing. It's very, very nice.
Thank you, you're right. Alyssa, do you have anything that you want to announce?
No, not right now.
Okay, you're doing a great job with that newsletter, I have to say, so thank you very much. You even convinced me to take a picture of myself, so thank you very much.
We finally got the selfie.
Thank you, Elisa.
That took a lot of work, so thank you. Charlene, is there anything you want to add?
No, we're working on this summer camp and the pool, and we have really nothing to say about that now. It's going to depend on the governor's office in part, or actually in a large part. And we're going to coordinate with the other villages to see what they're doing also.
Yeah, I think we have to talk about, like you said, the camp, the pool, the 4th of July, and the jazz concerts. So all those things we're going to have to talk about.
Yeah, I don't know how we do the jazz concert, actually, but we really do have to talk about it.
Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing else, what I'd like to do is adjourn this meeting and then have an advice of council meeting to follow immediately after. So do I have a motion to adjourn the regularly scheduled Board of Trustee meeting? Trustee Sullivan, second. Trustee Nell, all in favor? Thank you very much. The meeting is adjourned. So Alyssa, how do we just stay with, is that possible?
So I hadn't actually, I think maybe it's better if we.
Still being recorded, Alyssa.
Yeah, I think it's best if I send you a new meeting link.
Why don't we end this meeting and then send us another
Yeah.
one? Okay.
So I'm just gonna email you immediately a new link.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, it might take me 5 minutes, but.
Okay.
so-
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Bye.
you.